Good evening, everybody. Episode number 39 of So What's Been Happening. This is an exciting one. The day has almost come. Is this the day we've been waiting for? Not totally the news we wanted at this stage, but it's a start. That's all it is. The motor's slowly about to tick over. Let's hope this is the last time in Victoria. All right, Berkey. How are you, mate? Good to see you on a Wednesday night.
Back at you, Big Az. This should be it. Now, can we just have 1 minute so we can talk, Az? Because I reckon the next 59 minutes is going to be one bloke talking.
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all. Mate, this is...
I reckon there'll be no stopping you.
Absolutely. This is a really exciting one, mate. We've been looking forward to this one, no doubt. What is it? 8 o'clock, State of Origin night for the football fans or rugby fans. That's not for us, mate. We're music guys. We absolutely love the music. And if we had a choice right now, we would be sitting in more than likely one of three venues. And I can guarantee in the next few nights, I'm going to make sure we do. So where would we be, Berkey? Where am I sitting right behind now?
Yeah, we could be at the corner. You could just will a couple at the big beer barn. We could go to somewhere nice and classy. We're a new establishment, Cherry Bar, the one with the great reputation and the great man out the front there. I'm a long-term Cherry fan and really looking forward to speaking to the great man, James the Hound Dog Young, this evening. Well, let's bring him on, Az.
Let's do it. G'day, James. Welcome.
Hi, guys. How are you? Nice to be here.
Welcome to lockdown again.
Yeah, well, I got a little bit confused. It's been a very busy day trying to, spin a few plates and move gigs and inform people. So I almost forgot what day it was, but I'm glad I'm here, and it's an appropriate day to talk about live music in Melbourne, in Australia, because we're facing tough times, but we're not going anywhere.
That's right. I see, James, they announced the Melbourne we've slipped it just a touch on the scale of Melbourne's or the most livable city. That won't last long, I'm telling you. We will be back at the top within no time.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I notice we're down to number 8, and it's been very frustrating due to the bad luck we've had in Melbourne and Victoria. But we're not packing our bags and moving to Queensland. Too many Queenslanders. I think we'll stay here and fight it out. And it's not so bad to get a kick in the guts every now and then to keep you real. And I certainly am paying attention to all the people who are enjoying the fact that we're down on the canvas. But I love Melbourne, and we'll be back. And that position on the podium is vacant. I can see it, and it will be ours. Oh yes, it will be.
Berkey.
Good to hear. You've probably had a busy day, Shaft and Bucks, trying to get him over to Coast Carlton, no doubt. But you take our rejects pretty well over there at the Blues, but it works so well with Malthouse. But James, just on that, you've been voted, and that honour has been extolled on you to be the nightmare. So where's all that at? Where do you think it's going to head? Have you any inside running of where things are going to happen?
No, I mean the formal title is Chairman of the Night in the city of Melbourne, in Victoria. In Amsterdam and London, in New York it's the Nightmare, and in London it's the Night Tsar. But they've decided I'll be the Chairman of the Night, which looks good on the business card. My mum's very happy. But one thing I'm learning about politics is it's paralysingly slow, and it involves a lot of meetings. So we're still waiting for the first meeting with the nighttime advisory group. But I'm quite an impatient person, so I always sort of just do what I think is the right thing to do. And and have no political affiliations or don't worry too much about what other people think. In terms of what do I think is going to happen, well, I think the government's worried about this long weekend. They just want to get past the long weekend. And I think if we get through it pretty much incident-free, which I expect we will, then I'm really hoping that this time next week the government announces that we'll go back to the conditions that we were operating under just before lockdown number 4 in Victoria, which is almost tolerable for my small to medium-sized venues. We certainly couldn't bear this current set of strict regulations carrying on, because 50 people for an entire venue, mandatory seating, masks, it's untenable. And we've made a call on this first weekend. Yeah, the 25K rule. I had a band, Weaned, who were going to play at Cherry on Saturday, but most of the band members live more than 25 Ks away. It's just a nightmare. So you can't imagine the government. I forgive them; they couldn't possibly understand what's going on at the moment. But bands are nervous about playing. Bands who have got gigs booked for the next month, they don't want to play because no one's booking tickets. But if they move off those dates, that leaves the stages empty. Everyone wants to move further down the roster, down the schedule, and all those spots are being taken. And you don't know how you can sell tickets to a show without a crystal ball. It's a horrendous situation, but you can't lose faith. You've got to, worry is a useless emotion, so you've got to remain confident. And I'm hopeful that the middle of next week we'll get some hope back, and maybe, just maybe, this horrible lockdown was the shake-up that Victoria and Australia needed to realise this virus is always going to be around. It's not going anywhere. So we've got to vaccinate to secure our future. In Australia, we were so content and so safe. We were all just sitting back doing nothing. And I think maybe there's a bit of a wake-up call that, okay, well, it's not going anywhere. We better we better do things to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So maybe the short, sharp shock can actually have a silver lining.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, James, you've been very proactive in is this little pick. Vaccinations in their finest degree. What a fantastic left to centre idea, and I definitely dare say that there's been a lot of those ideas come across your desk, and in the last few months. But most importantly, it's executing it then, and then what you did out with Chris Chaney was unbelievable.
Thank you. Well, I think the real credit goes to the Cherry Massive. So that's a name I give the followers of Cherry Bar, the supporters of Cherry Bar, and they really are a very supportive group. I'm sure there's many people in the Cherry Massive. Many of them live interstate, some live internationally. Some of them probably can't get to Cherry Bar more than once a year, but they hold the concept of Cherry Bar dear in their heart, and they love the concept of rock and roll, and they pay attention and they care. So when we announced that thankfully we'd done this before in the lockdown, so we were ready to move pretty quickly, that we were going to sell and home deliver cherry cocktails. It was something it was good for me because I could give my casual staff some work. It was fantastic that the Cherry Massive ordered the cocktails substantially, and that we could make some income to help pay some current debts, including artist payments for the last couple of weeks, which was really weighing heavily on my mind when we were having no income coming through the door. And I own Yaya's. One of the owners of Yaya's, which is a very popular young person's nightclub in Smith Street, Fitzroy. And, it's so young. My joke is, what's got 600 legs and no pubes? It's the queue out the front of Yaya's. There's so many people trying to get in. But, we sold Yaya's cocktails, and that's the most popular nightclub in Melbourne. And we sold 40 of them, and then we turned to the Cherry Massive with a bar that's only got a 250 capacity, and we sold 1,300. 1,300 cocktails, and there's 2 servings in a bag, so let's call it 2,600 cocktails were purchased, and that's the people who happen to live within a 25k radius of Cherry. In fact, you'll be pleased to hear that I've extended that radius to 35k's this week.
Fantastic.
And it was a pretty simple idea to get my mate Chris Cheney from the Living End involved. He's a wonderful guy. He doesn't live far away from me. He's got 2 daughters and a lovely wife, and his mum from Berwick has moved in with him. He was pretty happy when I said, "Do you want to come out with me on a Saturday night and take a break from the lockdown in that house full of estrogen?" And volunteered his time, and because he's my mate, I forgot just how popular he is and how good he is with people and as a musician. It was a very fun, crazy, unique thing to be involved with. And I mentioned before having to thank the Cherry Massive. The other thing, of course, is the Cherry staff, because they've got a great can-do attitude. They really wanted to be involved, and they take pride in their work. And it was a crazy Cherry Bar sheltered workshop with people preparing. Believe me, it's not easy to prepare 2,600 cocktails for delivery all over Melbourne with the Cherry Tea Towel and putting the drivers on the right routes and trying to get the cocktails there in the right time and tasting every one of them to make sure that you're delivering a good product. It was quite inspirational to see that support, and we've seen it in the past. Berkey's been fantastic in the past with the Cherry pledge campaigns we've had in terms of the signage and displays we've had. But we've had, I think it was an Australian record at the time when we had $73,000 pledged within 24 hours. At that time, that was the most successful GoFundMe campaign in Australian history, and that was just people who loved Cherry and wanted to help Cherry. And I know something, because I know a little bit about marketing, that these people don't need to be promised the world. In fact, I was almost thinking if we were closed down for any extended time, probably running another campaign, and this time just saying, for this amount of money, you get absolutely nothing. For this pledge, you get donuts, you get burger rings for this, you get calamari. It's absolutely got nothing to give you at all. And I just believe that if we did that, to everyone else's shock and surprise, the Cherry Massive would do it just out of the kindness of their heart.
No doubt. I'd like to, if we can, guys, I'd like to take you back, James, to when all this started. Before you were the man about town, the go-to man for ideas and for getting sloshed at places. So what's the James Young story? When did it all start for you, mate? I first met you at Triple R 100 years ago. When we were all a bit younger in the tooth, and I was a bit more naive than you city blokes. But how did it all start, James? Where did it all come from? Your love of music and getting into business, marketing, and that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, well, I'm enjoying you asking these questions about my favourite topic myself. But to go back to the start, well, I was born in Sydney, moved to Melbourne when I was very young. Grew up in Cheltenham, went to Bowie North Primary and Bowie High School at first before moving across. My parents got separated, stayed with my dad, went to Wesley in Paran. I was growing up in Glen Waverley. And, the jobs were, Target Glen Waverley Video Moves, Denny's Nunawading. But I studied law and a Bachelor of Arts with Honours in English, and I was a lawyer for a while at one of the big 6 law firms, Course Chambers, Westgarth. But I always had a passion for music. Of course, like everyone else, when I was 17, 18, I was in a band. And I can assure you that if you had a 18th birthday party in the Mount Waverley, Glen Waverley, Stindal area in 1983, 84, you were calling on Nervous Rex, REX, Nervous Rex. And I played every instrument I knew at the time. I was on the alto saxophone, the harmonica, lead vocals, and we were bashing out plenty of Stones and Monkeys and Creedence Clearwater Revival and Sex Pistols and the Doors. I think the first original song I wrote was called Criminal Ways, which is ironic because my version of a criminal way would have been stealing a musk stick from the tuck shop. But still. But I realised, which broke the hearts of my band members, fellow band members, that I was shit and we were shit. So I broke up the band because someone offered me $350 for the alto saxophone, and I knew there was a 3-in-1 Philips stereo at Brash's at Chadstone, and so I sold the saxophone so that I could get my first turntable, because I always could recognise what good music was. That's why I couldn't bear myself playing it. And then at uni, I was on 3MU, the radio station there. That led to me joining David the Body Vodka on Triple R from the age of 19. We had our fast fiction show, which I did for about a dozen years. I'd been a lawyer, but I moved on, followed my passion in music. I did the breakfast show on Triple R with Kate Langbrook and Chris Hatzis and a bunch of other fun people there for 4 or 5 years. Then I was, what else was I doing? Then I moved from the breakfast show to being the program manager of Triple R from the age of 30 to 33. And I eventually left Triple R to start a career in advertising, which I did for about 8 years. All this time I'm doing freelance journalism. I had a weekly column in the Herald Sun for 8 years, and was involved with funny, I can't even remember all the things I was doing, like wrestling promotions, wrestling nights, and obviously DJing at Chasers Hard and Fast, and anyway, it was mainly the life has revolved around the music industry and doing what I love, because life's too short not to do what you love for a living. And when I got involved with the advertising agency, that ended up doing pretty well. And I was the executive director there, 25% owner. And just before I turned 40, this is your 39th episode. It was 39 when I sold my advertising agency. And for the first time, my life came into a bit of money. And the first thing I did was buy Cherry Bar, my favourite bar in the world, just to make sure I could always get in. And that ended up being a vanity purchase that ended up being the smartest thing I ever did, because I just kind of wanted it on the side, but it sort of dragged me in. And then I realised that I love booking bands. I was good at booking bands. I love the Cherry Bar, and I was good at it. So that's what I've pretty much been doing for the last 14 years now. We've got Yayas, we've got Hotel Westwood out in Footscray, and we've had a horrible 2020, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm certainly not, I love Melbourne. I'm not going anywhere. I've had record labels, I've managed bands. I just so I suppose some people, their hobbies is, fishing or triathlons. It may not be the healthiest hobby in the world, but I am addicted to live music. And I know Berkey is as well. Most of our mates, 300 of them were by our side when we're watching bands when we're 20. You get to 40 and there's 6 of them. You get to 50 and there's 1 or 2 if you're lucky. I don't know why they drop off, because my interest continues to grow and grow. And if I don't see a live band at least once or twice a week, I actually go a bit stir crazy. It totally grounds me. It defines me. And I feel very lucky that I didn't have the talent to play in a band, but just through passion, dumb passion, I feel like I now have the privilege of being a part of the Melbourne music scene that I love so much.
Well, one thing's for sure, James, you've you're laying an absolute legacy of promotion, if nothing else, and you're incredible at identifying talent, and you're incredible at giving bands opportunities to play on your stages. And for that, mate, we love being at the Cherry, especially, and really look forward to Hotel Westwood. I know it's an exciting venue. I've got it right behind me if someone can't see it. We look forward to many gigs there, where desperately waiting an announcement on a gig that's coming up there with Even, and I think it's probably getting harder and harder to be able to put that show on to a decent number at the moment.
I'll give you a scoop, Aaron. I'll give you a scoop, Berkey. We did have to move the Even gig from this Saturday. We were still hoping to do it actually, but when they came down with the 50 people total capacity of the entire venue rule, it meant we had to move it. And I've just confirmed with Walter today, punching his way into the extremely busy Ashley Naylor schedule, that Saturday the 28th of August at Hotel Westwood in Footscray, as the feature band of the West Set Footscray Festival, Even will be playing at Hotel Westwood. So if you've got your tickets to the show that was supposed to be this Queen's Birthday long weekend, hold on to those, because the show's not cancelled, it's not lost, it's postponed, and that's not such a bad result. They've got to hang in there for 10 weeks. I bought tickets to see Rose Tattoo at the Whiskey A Go-Go in LA, and they're asking me to wait 2 years. So 10 weeks is not that bad.
No, you're right. It wasn't long ago that we used to book, 3, 4, 5 months out, even for the big shows. We've kind of got a little bit used to getting weekend gigs recently in the last couple of months when we've been open in Melbourne, and it was so great that we've got live music on most nights, especially at the Cherry.
Yeah, well, the Cherry Bars suffered the most from the pandemic, because our kind of the secret to our success was international tours and international bands, because the international bands, and God bless them, the international crews would come into Cherry all the time, in particular on the weeknights, Sunday to Thursday, because, Melbourne's such a strong live music town that they'll give the headline shows, international shows, to Sydney on the Friday and Saturday and Brisbane on the Friday, Saturday, and we'll have to go out on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But in Melbourne, we don't care. We'll go and see our band that we love Tuesday night, no worries, which is not the attitude in the other cities in Australia. But as a result, great for Cherry, because very often we'd have international bands sitting around in Melbourne with days off between Sunday and Wednesday, and they're staying in the city, and we're the only bar that's got a 24-hour license. And we get the famous musicians, and as I said, God bless them, the road crew. Because the road crew, I love them even more. One, they're always polite. They pay for their own drinks. And also they're back every 3 months, because they'll be here with Pink 1 month, and they're back with U2 the next, and then they're here with Slipknot. It's the same guys. They're just constantly touring, and they're such huge supporters of the venue. And you take a picture with Metallica on Tuesday night, and that's how Cherry Bar gets full on the Friday and Saturday. Actually, no chance of seeing the band on Friday or Saturday at Cherry Bar, but the punters see the picture of the rock stars at the venue, and that brings them in. And unfortunately, that's secret to Cherry Bar's success has been totally taken from us for this period of time. There are no international tours. There's no even big national tours. We're not seeing 2 shows a week at the Forum, and all the crowd coming to Cherry afterwards. So we've had to reinvent ourselves a little bit in the short term, and now we're trying to get people to have a cocktail after work, hang around for the local talent, and it is a switch for us, because in the past, a Cherry cocktail would have been a Jaeger bomb or a vodka and Red Bull. And now we've had to actually find out the ingredients that go into a Negroni, and that took some time. And but that reinvention is a part of survival. But can't wait till we get the tours back, because Cherry Bar really needs them, and I think Melbourne needs them.
Yeah, speaking of having superstars at the Cherry, James, no doubt you cut a sway through this concert. One of your all-time best outfits there, and then the fantastic follow-up to that not long after was this moment. Incredible. I know you talk about some superstars being through your venues, but there's no doubt probably not much bigger superstar than that at the moment.
Yeah, Brian May from Queen. Lovely guy, came into the bar, and I found out subsequently. I mean, firstly, when he's at the bar, he wanted to use the bathroom, and of course, I always draw my breath and say, "Geez, are you a pretty gutsy man if you want to go to the Cherry bathrooms?" Because he stays in 7-star luxury all over the world, and Berkey, what those bathrooms look like. And he comes back down and says, "Did you survive?" And he said, "Oh, I loved it. It's so good to be back somewhere that's real." And his passing observation is very true about how important being real is, and how it's a lost art, really. And but what I found out about Brian May was apparently he's actually, which I never saw, apparently he's got quite a short temper, and he hates it when he goes to venues and 1,000 fans pull out their mobile phones and want to take 1 million selfies of him. He just absolutely hates that. It triggers him, and he's out of the venue straight away. Well, he came to Cherry Bar after playing, his 2 3/4 hour show down there at Vodafone Arena or whatever it was. And he stayed in the Cherry cocktail bar, the Andy bar there, for 3 3/4 hours, just sat there quietly. And the room was just full of some Cherry staff, some Cherry regulars, and not one person touched their phone once. Not once did anyone go and bug him in any way. And then when it was time for me to go, I just went over to say, goodbye. You don't want to be a pest. I didn't want to ask him for a picture. And he's said to me, excuse me, do you mind if I get a picture before you go? And I've said, oh, that's okay, Brian. And he steps up and he goes, let's go behind your bar. So we go behind the bar and get that photo that you displayed. And then he says to me, why don't I get a photo with all of your staff, bar staff? So then I pull the bar staff around, and then there's a photo with Brian with all the bar staff, and everyone gets their cameras out then and takes all those photos. And then, I put the photo, and it was very difficult for me to show some humbleness and put the photo of him with the bar staff up instead of the photo with me on the Cherry Facebook. And it literally broke the internet because I had forgotten, because I'm so privileged and lucky, I'd forgotten just how special that moment was, that Brian May, the guitarist from Queen, comes into Little Cherry Bar, stays there for the best part of 4 hours and wants to get a photo with the staff. It just it blew my mind, the reminder of what a huge rock star he is, but also a nice insight into the fact that he's known as this cantankerous old poodlehead, but in the right circumstances, total gentleman. And he was the one politely asking for the pics of us, which is a nice but 100% true story.
Yeah. Look, it is painful, people coming up and trying to get selfies all the time. It does get annoying. But as if, I don't know. But, James, I want to drag you back. Give us a couple of your favourites that have played there, a couple of locals and a couple of internationals. Putting you on the spot.
Yep. Well, one of my favourite nights at Cherry Bar was when David Bowie's shock death, when he died of cancer at the age of 69. Oh, yeah. And so much respect for Bowie that somehow the whole world did not know about that secret, and it was a real shock when he passed in early January. And I was sitting at home on the couch, and normally at Cherry we have on Mondays it's Cherry Jam with the open mic with band, people playing, and I just said, stuff it, I've got to go into Cherry Bar. I haven't DJ'd at my own bar in 5 years. I'm going to go in and play Bowie tonight. And I sort of mentioned that on Facebook and went into Cherry, and a huge crowd turned up feeling the same way that I did. But we have to get out of the house. We have to do something for Bowie. And the first funny thing was that we hadn't quite finished the open mic night. So we had 200, 300 people there for Bowie. And there was a guy called Michael who was, an older-looking guy who'd been playing his guitar in his bedroom just for the last couple of months and worked up his 2 or 3 songs. And I went to Michael and said, look, Michael, I know you normally get a 20-minute set, hoping that maybe you might reduce it a bit because all these people here are waiting to hear Bowie. I never kick off stage a booked act, so we've got to be respectful. He said, okay, I'll just do 15 minutes. So I went on stage and I announced to the crowd, "Look, I know you're all here for Bowie. We will be here all night till 3, but we're doing our open mic. Michael's the last person who's playing for us. Can you bear with Michael?" And then, of course, the crowd starts chanting, "Michael, Michael, Michael."
Oh, cool.
And up comes Michael. And then on that night, looking around the room, it was the rarest, most beautiful Cherry crowd ever, because one, I've never seen it was fathers and daughters, mothers and daughters, different generations. You'd play Moon Age Daydream, the whole crowd would cheer with joy. You play Sorrow and the entire room would bawl its eyes out. It was just an amazing, spontaneous gathering for music lovers. So that was a special night, whose feature band was Michael. But always, I always like Australian bands. Seeing bands like Fluff doing a matinee at Cherry Bar has brought me a lot of joy. The Cherry Rock music festivals we've had with Child playing and just seeing bands at their absolute best on the tiny stage, where if you want to, you can almost put your eyebrow on their fretboard. These are very exciting shows. But in terms of the internationals, I mean, we've had Graveyard from Sweden were amazing. The Rival Sons, they were on a 2-year tour supporting Black Sabbath, and they wanted to do one dirty pub show, and they came and played on an incredibly hot. I mean, people remember two things about the old Cherry Bar in AC/DC Lane: the toilet smell and the Bain Marie factor, the heat that could be kept in that room with the condensation running down the mirror behind the bar. And I recently re-listened to that Rival Sons live show, and it's literally the best thing that band's ever done in their life. That record will one day be released, and it's just quite amazing. And little things like, having Spencer P. Jones and Chris Wilson, who are both now departed, play for over 2 years, over 2.5 years each, residencies, just doing Friday knockoff drinks. And, Spencer P. Jones was so internationally respected that he would sometimes turn up and he'd have Evan Dando would come and play with him, or Gordon Gano from the Violent Femmes would turn up with his fiddle and play with him. And I'd be sitting there and there might be 17 people watching magic, just the best music in the world happening in Little Cherry Bar. These are the things that make me smile.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well covered, mate. For me,
sure
Super Sucker stands out. It was a ripper.
Yeah.
That Saturday and then the Sunday, my God, that killed me. I don't know how you keep on going, mate. Do you get much sleep? Are you a day man, or what happens? Looks like you're up there every night, hours and.
Yeah, when I did the breakfast radio show for Triple R for 5 years, I got myself into a routine, which was I pretty much go to bed at 2:30 every night. So I go to bed at 2:30, and when I was doing the Triple R breakfast show, I was getting up at 5:20. So you're getting less than 3 hours sleep. But I would always come back and then sleep from 10 till 2 and grab those 4 hours during the day.
Yeah.
And even today, I do. If I'm being polite, I mean, you're enough as a siesta, but let's face it, it's a nana nap. If you can punch out an hour between 3:30 and like 5-ish, that's magic, And I think that hour's worth is golden and is worth double some other hours. But I am a bit of a late night person. I even during the pandemic and when we're locked down at home, I find myself staying up till 2:30, and that is my curfew, by the way. I have never been at my bar Cherry when it's closed at 5 a.m. Everyone knows I've got a 2:30 curfew, and either my staff respect the curfew, or don't like me that much, because they always tap me on the shoulder at 2 o'clock and say, "Shouldn't you be gone by now?" It's time to go, and I do go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really exciting to hear some of those insights about the old Cherry. Just talk to us a little bit about the new Cherry, and you talk about ambience and trying to create the same venue and same mood. Did you go for something a little bit different with the new Cherry, or what's been the kind of movement through to you? And I know I've been plenty of times to both venues, and I think that I love both, but to me they're still very different.
Yeah, Aaron, it was not ideal that for kind of boring lease reasons. The right thing to do was to find a new venue to preserve the long-term future of Cherry Bar. And I think we got very lucky because I really wanted to be close to the ACDC Lane venue. I wanted to stay in the city. I wanted to be about the same size, have a late night license, and if possible, have a bit of a rock and roll history. So if you think about it, Pony, the former Pony in Little Collins Street, where we ended up, is perfect. It's precisely 400 metres from the old Cherry, which means that Kathy Freeman can get from the old Cherry to the new Cherry in 48 seconds, provided she catches the lights. And so it's nice and close. It's actually got a 24-hour license 7 days a week, which is better than the old Cherry. Former Cherry had a 200-person capacity. New one, there we are, has a 260 capacity. The thing I got to get my head around really is the two levels, because that makes it considerably different to be operating on two levels. And obviously, I was responsible for christening ACDC Lane, so we'll always have an incredible sentimental attachment to ACDC Lane. But in life, anyone who runs business knows that you'll always be confronted with hurdles. Things are always going to change, and you've got to adapt. And I'm very much hoping that Frankie's Pizza by the Slice in Sydney is kind of a sister bar to Cherry Bar in Sydney. They've just been given the extremely bad news that New South Wales government is acquiring their venue. They've got no choice because they're turning it into a metropolitan train station and paying them out. And I'm hoping that they will successfully do what we've attempted to do, which is to relocate and stay alive. And I think we were just starting to find our feet. Look at that photo with Brian May from Queen. Just before we closed, we were having Orville Peck came in one night. The same night we had The Darkness, the band were there. We had Tim Reese from the Rolling Stones done a soul show. It just started to feel like we'd pulled the rabbit out of the hat. We'd found the right location. The bands were coming. Some people didn't even know the venue had changed because I'm not Frank Lloyd Wright, but I did bring across the same carpet, the same leopard print and some wood features and the same posters. So it's supposed to feel similar. And yeah, the famous red glass bar top. So we tried to make it feel the same. And now it's I've done enough. It's time for the people of Melbourne, the next generation of Cherry Bar fans, to give Cherry Bar its stories.
Well said, mate. That's great. And it really is. It's really on people now to come back strong. Did you feel much? Were you overwhelmed with the support coming back, James, or was it a bit lukewarm? Or people coming back to venues?
Oh no, I think. Do you mean coming out of the pandemic, or you mean moving?
Yeah.
I think Cherry Bar. I mentioned before the challenge of us not having the after parties, which is a bit of a kick in the balls. But the thing is that the city's been deserted. Like there's just no walk through traffic. Anyone who comes to Cherry Bar is, it's a destination venue. They've made a bloody effort to come in, and we were trading pretty damn well, considering the effect of the absence of people in the city. And, the government and the media have fed this frenzy about the city being unsafe. How many times did I have to watch the news when the Premier was saying, don't go in the city, stay at home, And we've got a modest size, and that worked in our favour. And having the 2 levels is good too, because we can just operate downstairs or upstairs. But I think I've been very pleased with the attendance that we've had. I think when we came out of the second horrendous 111-day lockdown, and again they took us out on, as they do at 11:59 on the Thursday night, Friday morning. Well, Cherry opened at midnight on the Friday morning, and there was a queue out the front. So people, and believe me, they weren't just walking past. There were people. They knew what we were doing. They wanted to be there. They wanted to support the bar. And probably the most exciting thing I've seen, really, it's one of the most exciting things I've ever seen in Melbourne music, is when we came back. I said, okay, we've got to give people a reason to come twice. The bands are on early. The cocktails are on early. We need people to come late. We'll reintroduce the 1 a.m. slot bands, the late night bands. So on Friday and Saturday, you have a band coming on, self-contained, just for 30 or 40 minutes playing. And I just put the feelers out to the Cherry Massive through the Cherry Facebook, going, look, I'm interested to hear if any bands want to come and play. I haven't seen any new live bands for over a year. And I had all these bands. What happened during the lockdown was many Melbourne bands broke up. Many Melbourne bands had the thinking time, and they said, you know what, it was never paying the bills anyway. It was going nowhere. I've had some thinking time. I've grown up a bit, becoming a bit more adulty, and that's it. The bands just fell apart. It happened to lots and lots and lots of bands. Yeah. But on the flip side of that coin, we had a whole bunch of young people, and I'm referring to these people as quarantines. So they're teenagers who, during this period of the pandemic, formed bands and got excited about music. So here I am listening to bands saying, oh, this sounds all right. I'll give these guys a go. Ivy Streep, Persecution Blues, Maggie Pills, what's the other one? Something like Jet Plane Provider, all of these. Anyway, these are young kids, like 18, 19. Actually, 2 of those bands have members who are under 18, so their parents had to be there, right? And I've never heard of them. And some of them were playing their first gig, their third gig, their fourth gig, and I'm putting them on. And I know about live music. I've seen thousands and thousands of bands. And these young bands that have come out of nowhere from the Melbourne lockdown are blowing my mind with how impressive they are. They're like Ivy Streep, Floyd, the lead guitarist, his wisdom in the use of space in his guitar playing. Because not anyone, but people play the guitar, there's a certain, I know where this song's going to. Not with him. He's 18.
Yeah, wow.
And to be 18 and to understand that you create tension and beauty with silence, that's a very wise head on the shoulders, right? So that's impressive. And the 1 a.m. slots every week, they're putting on bands, most of whom are almost sight unseen, and they are really producing the goods. So that's a really exciting byproduct, which the rest of Melbourne has yet to see. If you want to see it, come to Cherry when we're back and we're functioning at 1 a.m. on a Friday and Saturday, and get ready to be completely shocked by the talent that has been created by a lockdown, specifically in Melbourne, Rock City.
Great to see you haven't lost your passion there, great man. It's oozing out of you, mate. So that's what brings people to the place as well, I reckon. The man in the hat. Everyone wants to have a chat with James and get the little piece of memorabilia, get a photo with the great man and stuff. But I've got a two-parter. I want to ask if I reckon your favourite band, I reckon I already know, would be the Stones.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know the story, James, if you can give us a little bit about when you had tickets to go and see the Stones and most graciously gave up the experience because someone else couldn't get there. Tell us that one.
I'm not sure I know that.
Showing your humble part.
I'm not sure.
Ticket for the Stones, and you gave up your ticket so one of the mates could go.
No, that's not true. I think there's plenty of stories about. I think is that Andrew Delaney talking about when we were in Vegas? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I actually forgot about that, but yeah, that was a product of I had an amazing time back remember the world was free. I was in Seville, Spain at the Monkey Music Festival, seeing the best up and coming Spanish rock bands in the world. Then I went to London and with my cousin Bruce. I remember visiting Dartmouth Station, the exact point where Keith met Jagger, and it was the precise 55th anniversary of that moment. And then I flew to Vegas to see the Stones play, and they were playing 2 shows after the weekend before they'd done that desert trip, big festival with the Who and all the great 60s bands. Yeah, Bob Dylan and everyone else. And Jagger, the rotten bugger, what he did was he cancelled the first of the 2 shows because he had a sore throat from the dust at the desert thing. And then my tickets were moved from the Thursday to the Saturday. And what actually happened was it was my son, my middle son Archie. It was his graduation at year 12, and I had to make the call to stay in Vegas and see the Rolling Stones, or fly home, having not seen them, to see my son Archie's graduation, which was actually an easy decision to make. So I then gave my tickets to Andrew Delaney and some other friends who were there, and which was an easy gift to make. It was a convenient gift to make, and they made me feel very good about that. But I wasn't staying in the hotel room and letting someone else see the Stones when I could have. I was handing over the tickets because I really shouldn't have been there.
Right. I like the other story better, so I'm going to stick with that one. Take it away, Az.
There wasn't another part. We covered it. Good. Beautiful. James, I just wanted to touch on this beautiful Ric Flair special. Just tell us a little bit about choosing your items of fashion, and obviously you cut a sway through the crowd like no other. Just tell us a little bit about your choices, where this inspiration comes from, and I know you no one misses you in the crowd, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, well, I enjoy rock and roll, and I was a pretty mild, underconfident student when I was a young man. Dressed in the browns and the blues, and rock and with time, my love of rock and roll, which includes dressing up and being outlandish, kind of rubbed off on me. And as I said, when I was managing Even for a while there in my 40s, I said, "You do the rocking, I'll do the starring," and which was fine by Ash. And he's always been very inclusive with the introducing the band and stuff. And I think it really started with me hosting an Elvis party on the 25th anniversary of Elvis passing, which was 2002. So that's about just under 20 years ago. And I held I found a sartorial expert, Adrian Clark, who lives out in Keysborough, lives with his mum and his dad. He kicked them out of their bedroom and turned it into a theatre of sewing. They moved into his room, and he sleeps in a caravan in the front. And he's made all my suits, and he's a fantastically gifted guy, and they're very affordable, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. As I often say, you can spend $1,000 on a gym membership or $1,000 on a suit. Much better result from the suit. You don't have to set the alarm. There's no crunches. All those suits there you're seeing, they're all made by Adrian Clark in Keysborough at a very affordable price. So, and it was the same with the cowboy hat. Shit, I wish I knew how popular you can be in the cowboy hat when I was a young single man. It's like being a fireman. People associate it with, for some sort of traditional reason, they associate it with loyalty and trust and somebody who's going to be kind and look after them. So this is, and if I do go out and don't wear the cowboy hat occasionally, I find that I disappoint people. They literally don't recognise me. If I walk in my own bar, they go, "Who's that?" So when you have at one stage, I have 3 boys, and when they were younger, and you're going to the Royal Melbourne show. Believe me, it's helpful if you're wearing the cowboy hat. And it's helpful when you're at the music festival because your mates can find you easy enough.
Yeah, it's true. Good point.
Definitely, James. I just wanted to touch on one of your programs you're involved in, campaign. Just tell us a little bit about the Hang in There Melbourne campaign.
Yeah, a mate of mine, Joey Fitzroy Kellogg, who owns and runs 1-800 Lasagna in Thornbury, was involved with this campaign, and that he started off his own back, which was just coasters and stickers that he was distributing during the pandemic to people who were ordering food, and he was coming into contact with, seeing a lot of people at their front doors and being exposed to where they're actually at, how miserable they might be, how lonely they might be, how hopeless they might be feeling. So he was trying to do something little, and then he contacted me and said, "Listen, I think we might be able to do something with this. Can you help me?" And he talked about getting a few other people involved and putting the brand names on the bottom of the billboard and stuff. And I said, "Well, why don't we take a different approach? I mean, it's only a few $100 each. Let's just not put any logos on it. It doesn't matter who it's from. It's from Melbourne to Melbourne." I've got contacts in the digital billboard world. I've got contacts who do street posters. I know the guys at the Herald Sun and the guys at the Age and guys at the Project and the guys at Broadsheet. It's a feel-good story, and I do think that there are good people out there who want to spread a message of hope as opposed to a message of fear. And if you're being cynical, you can look at a big red poster with a heart on it that says "Hang in there, Melbourne," and you can say, bleeding hearts, wankers. But if you're in it, if you're really feeling low, and the media and the government are giving you no hope, you'd be surprised how much just a little word of support from people just like you can help you in these times. So I was very happy. Just remember, it's so easy. I do have a set of unique skills, but it was very easy for me to take that message, give it to the media, give it to people, and have them instantly do me the favour of helping distribute that message, put it on billboards and share it through social media. So it originated with Joey. He just didn't happen to have the experience to take it where it deserved to go, and very happy to be involved with it, and perhaps a little bit disappointed that some of the bigger powers above us don't think the same way that we little people think.
Oh, lovely, mate.
Absolutely.
Well said. I just wanted to add my little bit, James. When we were sitting at home during the lockdown thing, and you had your live streaming stuff at Cherry, reached out and said, "Look, if you're sitting at home, we need an assistant sound recordist." So I was lucky enough to get the call. So it is greatly appreciated. Just those little fill-ups, because when you don't get your fix, which is ours is music, when you don't get those fixes, you're missing out for so long. It was a great one for us. So I'm eternally grateful, as the other lads were. So it is greatly appreciated, and that's what people don't see. Those little things that you do behind the scenes that really do help and get people out of a spot. So personally, and from all of us that are watching, big ups to you, mate. So appreciate it. And we're having a cheeky
cherry wine.
Cherry vodka at the moment. So no, thanks, mate. Thanks for everything.
No, well, it's the reality is, guys, I just do it for myself. and hope other people turn up. It's could have been more successful if I thought about chasing artists that the mainstream like, but I've never been like that. And sometimes I've got to remind myself. I get very frustrated that I spend my whole life trying to convince the rest of the world how good this new band from Sydney, Johnny Hunter, is, or how good the Drunk Mums are, and then I need to remember that we're a part of the underground, and the culture of every city in the world historically is defined by its underground, by its artists. And although I want these artists to get more respect and more fans because they're so worthy, I need to remember that I belong in the underground. I love the underground, and you guys we're all a part of that scene. And to say something a little left of centre, if you dig down deep into conspiracy theories, you might actually find they're true. But guess what? If you don't pay attention to them and just piss around at the Hotel Westwood watching bands with other mates from the underground, they'll never touch you anyway. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about the big master puppets that are controlling everything. Why would you have a sleepless night worrying about Donald Trump? He's not going to stop you getting to Cherry, see Persecution Blues at 1 a.m. on Saturday night. He can't stop us. So I'll see you there.
Sounds like a plan.
Absolutely.
Well,
one thing,
and we'll get down there, mate, and share a couple with you. So can't wait.
Thank you very much, and always appreciate you putting up your hand, Berkey, with concept displays, helping us out. You actually, I don't think I've had to call you about anything. I think when you see something I'm doing or Cherry Bar's doing, it's you calling, texting, and emailing me, often repeatedly, until eventually I say, yes, I'd love your generous offer. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that continual support, and enjoying what you're doing here with what's been happening. A little bit disappointed that I couldn't be featured in the first 20 episodes, but I'll take 39. And see you again for the 100th. What do you reckon?
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
All right, guys. Good night. Keep up the good work. And everyone, doesn't matter if you're coming to Cherry, doesn't matter if you're coming to Hotel Westwood, doesn't matter if you're coming to Yaya's. Just get out there and support Melbourne live music. It's the best in the world.
Yeah,
absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. Thanks a lot, James. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, all right. Cheers, guys. I'm leaving the studio.
Mate, how good was that to have James join us on episode 39? What he doesn't know is we actually had to work up and iron out all the kinks ready for James. So once again, I extend it. Big thanks to James and the Cherry Bar, Yaya's, and Hotel Westwood. If you haven't been to any of those venues, get a car full of mates and make sure you're there at the next one, because they're three very different venues, and we look forward to filling them up very soon. And we had a bit of a scoop about Even, so if you haven't seen it, go back to early part of the show and listen in, and you'll find some exclusive details of what's going to happen with a new Even show coming up.
Don't you reckon that bloke we had on a couple of weeks ago might have given us the scoop, that the lead singer, lead guitarist, the songwriter from Even might have given us that scoop? But no, that's all right. We'll stick with James.
To be fair to Ash, I don't think he even had the scoop at that stage. It's been a newly appointed gig, obviously, based on the lockdown. Yeah. Just disappointing that Even may not be able to get these 4 gigs over the Queen's birthday holiday. That was really looking forward to a couple of those gigs. So we look forward to some reschedules in amongst the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we can get back out there and pick a venue. But I guarantee you there's going to be between Friday and Sunday night, I'm going to be at a venue somewhere, pouring a couple of lazy ones in and enjoying a few tunes from someone. So look forward to doing it with you, Berkey. Look forward to it, mate. Right. Thanks for joining me again.
Lots of love.
This
See you, folks.
has been episode 39 of So What's Been Happening.